Hey, it's Webs here, and the Murder at Castle Nathria set has been revealed for Hearthstone, where some of our predictions actually came true, including one from one of my commenters who left this comment on my last video. And sorry if I mispronounce your name, but this is where Olgra would actually be doing something with anima, where if X minions actually die, then it would boost whatever had the keyword on it. Actually a really good prediction overall for the set, and I'm actually pretty glad for this one to come true. And I was pretty close with the other mechanic that got revealed, which was locations, which are going to be very similar to things like the Juggernaut reward from the quest line for Warrior or Narrow Fireblade for Warlock, though they will not be actually permanent. So let's begin with the first card that actually got revealed today, which is one that everyone has access to starting right now. Prince Renethil is a 3-cost minion that has 3 attack, 4 HP, and allows your deck size and starting health to start at 40. First thought when seeing this card is it's a really nice build around card, though at the same time I worry if it's going to be relevant or not relevant at all. I've been seeing a lot of speculation on either it being the best thing in the world or just the worst thing in the world. It hurts the consistency of decks, which is something that you don't normally want in card games. There are a few exceptions to this rule, especially in card games where you have a active graveyard, such as in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it is actually basically your second hand and you have other cards to just mill your own deck out so you have access to those cards. But Hearthstone doesn't actually have access to what would be considered a graveyard, so you don't have a secondary hand through that, and there's not cards that actually manipulate it with cards that you mill from the top of your deck. But looking at what decks actually do exist in Hearthstone currently, you basically have 3 style of decks. You have aggro, combo, or control. Aggro might want to use this depending if they have enough really good aggro minions or damaging spells that you're making up for the fact that you're actually making your deck a little bit less consistent. But then I worry about the amount of draw power that you would have to run in these style of decks, and that might not actually be the best option, since Hearthstone doesn't have a consistent way to actually draw into key cards or have other ways to draw into a lot of cards, unlike some other card games that do exist. And that's honestly the reason why I don't think a combo deck would actually want to run a card like this, mainly because of the fact that you're hurting the consistency factor of drawing into your key combo cards. Sure, you could afford to actually run some answers in the deck so you could actually survive until you get your full combo off, but it might just be better in the end to have a 30 card deck in that case too. And finally we come to control, where I think this card would fit perfectly, just so you can actually have 9 more additional answers within your deck and you don't worry too much about actually having not that much draw power, because you're just going to control the board as much as humanly possible. I think this is probably where it's going to actually fit. Maybe a Reno deck with this in combination would be really funny, just because you can run more one-offs that actually can answer your opponent's board, but then you lower the consistency of drawing into Reno, even though it would be a bigger Reno if you did. Overall, I don't know what to think of this card. I think it's probably going to be middle of the pack overall, but for right now, I think a lot of people are actually going to try to make it work. And if I didn't already have one day's video planned out, I would have put out a deck using this card then. So probably next week is the earliest you'll see me using this. For the next card revealed, we have Murlock Holmes, which is a 3-cost neutral Murlock with 3 attack, 4 HP, battle cry, solve 3 clues about your opponent's cards to get copies of them. For the 3 clues that you're actually solving for this card, the first one is what card started in your opponent's hand. You get to choose out of 3 cards. Then if you get that right, then you choose what card is currently in their hand, and then finally you choose a card that is in their deck. Overall, I think this card is probably not that good, just because of the fact that you need to solve all 3 to actually get copies of the cards, and you don't get anything if you don't solve all 3. If there are other cards that actually allow you to look at your opponent's hand, deck, and so on and so forth, then this card might be a little bit better. But honestly speaking, I don't think this is going to be a card that sees even any play in even a deck like Murlock Warlock or Murlock Shaman. Sure, it is a well-statted Murlock, but at the same time, its battle cry is probably going to be useless 90% of the time, especially if you don't know every single card in the current Hearthstone meta. And now for the next card revealed, and the first one that uses the new keyword infuse. Priest of Deceased, which is a 2-cost minion with 2 attack, 3 HP, taunt, infuse 3, gain +2/+2. So if you can actually trigger this pretty early on in a token-based deck, such as Token Demon Hunter or something else, then this card actually probably will see some play, because being able to actually get 4 or 5 worth of stats for 2 is actually really good overall, and is actually a pretty decent neutral card. Though I can see a problem with this keyword already. It's similar to the Blood Herald that actually existed for Hunter and Demon Hunter, where you need cards to actually die on your board while this is in your hand to get the added benefit. But at the same time, I think a card like this might even just see play as a 2/3, and the additional benefit of maybe getting the 4/5 is actually pretty good, even if it is just for 2 mana, and probably will see some play in either Token Demon Hunter or some type of aggro-based Druid deck where you have a bunch of ways to generating a bunch of tokens. And now for the first non-neutral card, Suspicious Usher, which is a 1-cost priest minion with 1 attack, 3 HP. If your opponent guesses your choice, they gain a copy. This is alright, I guess, but I honestly don't think this will see much play. There's too wide of a range of minions that this could actually generate, between really good minions for certain decks and really bad minions for other decks. If your opponent knows what deck you're actually playing, it's going to be very easy for them to actually predict what copy to actually choose, because there's only a certain number of legendaries that are really good in every situation that might actually give your opponent an answer that you have no way to actually deal with after you play your copy of the same answer. Now for the first card for Rogue, Door of Shadows, which is a 1-cost shadow spell. Draw a spell, infuse, add a temporary copy of it to your hand. This is actually pretty cool for a combo-based Rogue deck. It does give Rogue a little bit more draw power, which is pretty nice. And honestly, we'll probably see a lot of play just because it is a cheap draw spell for Rogue. And that's something that, while Rogue currently has some of, could use a lot more, since draw power is always nice. And now time for the new type of card that we're seeing added into Hearthstone, Locations. Locations are a type of card that will take up a space on the minion board and will actually sit there until either you destroy it through using its 3 durability or whatever durability it actually has, or your opponent interacts with it with certain cards that will be printed to get rid of the locations on the board. The first one is going to be Muck Pools, which is the Shaman location. It is a 1-cost location. Transform a friendly minion into one that costs 1 more. So we're going to see Evolve Shaman return. This is actually pretty cool, especially given some of the other cards that have also been revealed. I think this will probably see a lot of play, even if it is a location. It is honestly a pretty good introduction to the general mechanic, and is something that could be easily abused in a deck that historically has actually been pretty strong. And given the fact that we've already seen 2 other cards that support a deck like this, this is probably going to be really strong overall. The next card revealed is Baroness Vashj, which is a 4-cost legendary for Shaman. She is a Naga with 3 attack, 6 HP. If this would transform into a minion, summon that minion instead. This actually makes her a really good target for the location that we just previously saw, and serves as a really good way to just ramp up your board pretty quickly by having her on the board, though at most you're probably going to only get 5 costs minions off of her because of the fact that she isn't actually being transformed herself. So that is a little bit bad, but at the same time, 5-cost minions have a wide range of pretty good minions currently. And now for the last Shaman card revealed, Primordial Wave, which is a 3-cost nature spell for Shaman. Transform enemy minions into ones that cost 1 less, and friendly minions into ones that cost 1 more. Honestly, this is actually really good. It's basically devolve and evolve in the exact same card. And honestly, I can't see a world where this doesn't see play, especially given the fact that we have seen other evolve Shaman cards. And I honestly think we'll probably see even more after these 2. And now for the second location, Warriors. Sanguine Depths is a 1-cost location with 3 durability. Deal 1 damage to a minion and give it 1 attack. This is actually pretty cool. It is a worse version of the objective spell that we saw earlier in Alterac Valley, at least in theory, though this probably will end up being better than that objective spell just because of the fact that you can hard target whatever you actually want to target, and you don't have to accidentally kill some of your minions that you want to buff up. And this should serve as a pretty good way to trigger some frenzies, so maybe Frenzy Warrior might become a thing, especially with Overlord Sarfang never really seen much play. This could make him a lot better of a card overall if some of the other frenzies get played because of this. Furthering Berserker is also probably a really good card to use in combination with this, just because you could easily buff it up pretty quickly by having this on the board, and this actually has a lot of potential for the future, especially given the last card revealed today, which is Decimator Olgra, which is a 6-cost legendary minion for warrior with 3 attack, 7 HP. Battlecry, gain +1/+1 for each damage minion, then attack all enemies. Honestly, this in combination with Bran is actually a really cool win condition for a frenzy type of warrior deck. Actually, honestly, probably better than the card that was supposed to be the frenzy warrior win condition, which is Overlord Sarfang. And honestly, I can't see a world where this doesn't see some play if you can actually swarm the board with a bunch of easy, cheap minions and then slam this down so you can slam your opponent's face with a very, very hard to get rid of minion that can get really, really big really, really quickly, especially given the fact that Bran does actually exist in standard. So those were all the cards revealed today. Let me know what you're most looking forward to actually playing around with. And like always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.